All right, good evening. Here we are again for another broadcast. We're going to be here talking about WWE Roadblock. Now, of course, it's been a quick minute since I've been on my channel, mainly because moving and things of that nature. But now we are back, ready to go, ready to do these pay-per-views. All right, so tonight we have WWE Roadblock. It's going to be an interesting card. It's a little bit predictable, just because there doesn't seem like they really had too many storylines to build here. So we're going to first start out with the first match here, talking about Swan versus Perkins and Kendrick here. So it's a triple threat for the Cruiserweight Championship. Honestly, not too worried about this one, because I think Swan has a good win over the crowd. He is a face by nature. And TJ Perkins had his chance. I mean, yeah, sure, he only held it for 3 weeks to a month. He kind of led that division coming in when it first came on Raw. Then, of course, Kendrick winning it over Perkins, and now we have this idea that they want to see Swan, a face, run the Cruiserweight title for a little while, which I think is a fair argument. Kendrick is a little bit older. I think he wanted just one legitimate win to be able to truly, keep his keeps in the WWE for at least a little bit longer. But like I said, this is a pretty easy call right here. I think Swan's going to retain, and I think they're going to keep this division going. I think they're doing a great job. They're talking with, 205 on the WWE network now. So they're trying to make them as legitimate as they can and give them that chance to build that storyline. Because quite frankly, being on WWE Raw, it's not as easy, unfortunately, due to a lot of the other characters. So I think giving them their own show was probably one of the best things that they could do for the Cruiserweight division. Unfortunately, though, it is only on the WWE network, so there is going to be a limited audience. But overall, I think it's a good idea. Swan takes this one pretty easily. I expect the match to last maybe 10, 15 minutes. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. Should be super quick. Next match we have Sami Zayn versus Strowman. Now, this would be an interesting match, I think, because they've been building up Strowman for quite some time. He's been known as the clobber who's come through and just pretty much annihilated everybody. I started getting a little worried at the beginning because he was facing a lot of no-names. And unfortunately, when you do that, sometimes you lose the legitimacy of an actual character. And then they started bringing some names into the mix. And now you have this idea where Sami Zayn is basically, his character is looking for somebody to wrestle with, to build his character back up. And I think Strowman's the perfect fit for this. We've been seeing for the past 2-3 weeks now that Sami Zayn is fighting with Foley about a lot of the resiliency, the idea of never giving up, and I think that this really sets it up perfectly for that. I don't think that Strowman will win quickly, nor do I think he'll honestly win, but I do think Sami is going to put on an amazing match like he always does in pay-per-views, and I truly think that Sami has to win this match to keep honestly his character even relevant, because he's was in the title match for, title hunt for a while, kind of fell off. So I think truly this needs to be his chance here. And I think he's going to win. And I think they're going to try to build his character to maybe a wrestling match, United States champion type thing in WrestleMania 33 possibly. But I do believe he should be a champion one day. It's just going to be a matter of how soon does the WWE want to actually do that. So I think overall, I think Sami Zayn will win this one. But it's definitely not going to go quick. Next, you have New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus. This is actually probably the match I'm looking forward to the most. I'm kind of sad it's going to be a little bit earlier in the pay-per-view, just because there's a lot of other ones like Rollins versus Jericho, Owens versus Reigns, that those are going to be kind of obvious of who's going to win. So I was really hoping that they'd put the New Day towards the end. They're coming off of breaking Demolition's record of, 400 and so odd days. I think it's 478, if I'm not mistaken. So coming off of that, it's time for them to switch the title. And I believe this is going to be the time that they do it. I think Cesaro and Sheamus are definitely going to win this match. I don't think it'll be easy. I think it's definitely going to be a hard-fought contest. You're going to definitely see some distractions from probably Xavier and Francesca, the trombone. I definitely see that happening. I don't see why they won it. I think Kofi Kingston and Big E are going to start this match. But I think at the end, I think Cesaro and Sheamus are going to win. They've been building Cesaro and Sheamus. Yes, they've had their differences, but, after the brawl at the bar and them coming together the past couple weeks, I could definitely see this being the icing on the cake for them and hopefully bringing them together as an actual legitimate threat. And really, there's no one else. I mean, when you think about it, you have Enzo and Cass, but they're tied up with Rusev right now. Then you've got Luke Gallows and them, but they've lost multiple weeks in a row. So realistically, there's not anybody left on the Raw roster. And I think that's the reason why the WWE writers built this between Cesaro and Sheamus, because they realized that there wasn't really anybody left to truly do it. Not saying the Cesaro and Sheamus are just an excuse to have them lose the titles. I don't think that's the case. I think that this is a legitimate team. I think this will be the icing on the cake for them. Of course, New Day will, if they do lose, which I am predicting that they will get their rematch. So who knows? Maybe WWE says, hey, man, it didn't really work out. Let's go ahead and give them back the titles. But I don't really see that happening for a while. So we'll see. We could possibly see them turn heel again. They were heel before they turned face, so that would be interesting. But overall, I think that WWE, this is the chance. Cesaro and Sheamus will win. This is the reason why they paired them. Unfortunately, I wish it was a little bit later in the pay-per-view. Looks like it's going to be number 3 on that card. So a little disappointed with that. But overall, Cesaro and Sheamus take the win. Next, we have Rollins versus Jericho. I'm not too happy about this match. I don't really understand why they have this. I don't know why Jericho's still even wrestling. I mean, he's been around for a very long time. He's good at what he does, but I definitely like his role as being kind of Owens' second man. And I think that this is kind of a weird match. I'm going to predict that Rollins wins this to get back into the Universal title talk. As we know, Rollins has had a lot of issues with winning on the big stage. He hasn't had a huge win really, and except for Money in the Bank and all of that stuff. So it's been a quick minute since he's won. And so I think that this is just kind of a roadblock for him, as far as they've got to get Jericho out of the picture for the Universal title. They have to get him out of there. So I think this will be the perfect way to do it. Get Rollins to beat him. Then you'll have Rollins and Owens set back up. And then, of course, Triple H will get involved, and it'll be a nice storyline. But for now, I think that's really the only way that they're going to be able to do that one. So this podcast is going pretty quick because, unfortunately, this is just a pretty predictable matchup, unfortunately. At least the card is itself. So I'm going to say Rollins takes this over Jericho pretty easy. Hopefully getting him back into the talk for the Universal title. Could see a WrestleMania 33. Could be Royal Rumble. It could depend. If Jericho wins this match, then maybe they develop a storyline where Jericho, gets pissed at Owens. You definitely see some feuds on Monday Night Raw where they've had issues being a tag team. So maybe they want to see Jericho, at the Royal Rumble versus Owens for the title. That's a possibility. But I'm saying Rollins is going to win this one. Fifth match, we have Owens versus Reigns. This one's pretty obvious. I mean, I think Owens is going to win this one, hands down. I think Roman will put on a great match. I don't think there's any issues with it being a great match, but I think Roman left the main card action to build this title, the United States title. So if that's the case, then why are we having him come up for the WWE Championship? I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I think realistically, they need to keep that United States title as legitimate as on the other side, the Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown. They've got to keep them pretty even, because that is exactly what those titles are, just on different shows. And so I think Reigns will lose this match. Owens will retain, because either they're going to set up Owens and Jericho at the Royal Rumble, or they're going to continue the storyline longer, and we'll have Owens versus Rollins at WrestleMania. So that's the only two ways I can see this really playing out. If Reigns does win this somehow, then I don't really know what they're going to do with his his United States title, besides maybe having Jericho go again in a rematch to maybe take it from him. I really don't know. I don't see it happening. That seems like just too many different avenues, and WWE is not very good when they have a bunch of options. So I think this is going to be an easy match. Owens takes this one. For the main event, Banks versus Charlotte, I think this is the exact main event that it should be. I think the New Day should be right before them, and I think this should be it. I mean, they're going to set records for, first women Ironman match, 30 minutes, as many falls as you can get in that time. I think this is really the end-all be-all, right? Because there's no rematch clause in this actual title. So I think this is going to be super interesting because if Charlotte wins, WWE can take this multiple ways. They can have Bayley come up, which would be the easy route because she's the face, Charlotte's the heel. So you could go that route. Also, do they want to keep intact her undefeated record at a pay-per-view? Is that extremely important? Because you look at, The Undertaker at WrestleMania was undefeated until Brock Lesnar came around. And now we kind of see how Brock Lesnar's left the scene and Goldberg destroyed him within 30 seconds of the last pay-per-view. So really, do they really want to keep this intact, or do they want to go ahead and have Sasha Banks wins, keeps the title, and then now you have a good amount of options with Sasha because if she wins tonight, she's keeping this title to WrestleMania 33. I'm calling it right now. Super simple. Mainly because Charlotte doesn't have that rematch clause. So this is really going to be the be-all, end-all between these two, at least in the ring. I don't know about feuding behind the scenes or whatever, but at least in the ring, fighting each other for the title, it's definitely going to be it. We could see Bayley, unfortunately, and I love Bayley to death. I think she's a great wrestler. It sucks that they really can't turn her face or heel because her character, her build, her entries, her fans, she's just a face. And so if Sasha really keeps this title, the only way that Bayley's going to even become legitimate in winning this title is if she turns heel, which is not going to happen, or if they talk backstage or something and they cause this, jealousy type thing. That's really the only way I could really see this happening. Or they could turn Sasha heel, which she was a heel before she was a face. And normally WWE does not flip-flop. So that could be interesting there. There are other people, Dana Brooke, Nia Jax. I don't think Nia Jax is ready for the title yet. I think Dana Brooke maybe, unfortunately, Dana Brooke is still kind of scarred from being Charlotte's right-hand girl. So I think that's going to be, her protege, if you want to call it that. So it's going to be a little interesting as far as that's concerned. I think this match is going to be amazing. It's going to blow the roof off of that, of the arena itself. But at the end of it all, I think Sasha Banks will retain her title. And I'm glad this is it for them because, I'm tired of seeing the women's championship flip-flop because the more it flip-flops, the less of legitimacy the title actually has, right? So it's flopped so many times that it needs to stay with somebody. Don't really matter who, per se, but it needs to stay with somebody for a long time. And I think if WWE really wants to, mold Banks into someone great, they need to have her keep the title here, roll until WrestleMania, which gives plenty of time, and then either have her keep it there where she lost last year, or maybe build a feud, hopefully with Bayley. I'm hoping they'll build a feud with Bayley because I want to see Bayley win the title at some point in time. I don't think Dana Brooke is strong enough right now. She has not built legitimate credit by herself. A lot of people still relate her to Charlotte. So I think going to have a little bit more time there. Nia Jax just coming up on the scene. She's still kind of seen as a clobber. So it's going to take some time to build these characters. So realistically speaking, I think if Sasha holds this until WrestleMania, that gives plenty of time for the writers to build the characters around her. So I think overall Banks is going to win this match. It'll be a good one. It'll be a hard-fought one. They're definitely not going to make it easy, but I think Sasha wins. So to recap for Roadblock, I've got Swan, I've got Sami Zayn, I've got Cesaro and Sheamus, Rollins, Owens, and Banks. Again, this is a pretty easy card to build and to predict. I'd say the only one that I could get wrong would probably be Strowman. Strowman could win this one. It just depends on how they want to build Sami Zayn. If they're trying to get rid of him, if they're trying to get him into a lower division, that's fine. But just the way that they've been doing promos and stuff on WWE, Mick Foley, all that stuff, talking about when he was resilient and when he was, not wanting to give up. I think this is a prime example. If they went and didn't let Zayn win this, then what was the whole point of all those promos? So overall, that's pretty the way I got those 6 matches laid out. This is a pre-prediction show. I'm obviously going to do what I always do with my podcast is I will bring after the fact show. So I will do a review of all the matches, and then we'll look at, based off those, what are possible storylines after, right? Because going into the shows, you have set storylines after, though. If there's any shocks and I get any of these wrong, of course, there's definitely going to be some character builds that are going to be a little bit different storylines that could possibly take effect. So with that, that's it for this podcast. Tune in either Monday or Tuesday for a follow-up on the actual results along with future character builds. And I possibly could have a couple guests on, maybe not, but we'll see as time tells. I'm looking at maybe doing a 3-person panel type podcast. I think it'd be a lot more interesting, and it would make the podcast, I think, just a little bit more in depth with a lot more information. So with that, I sign off. Thanks for listening, and hit that like button. Thank you.